Hello everyone. Give me a minute. So we've got a new setup here. Commander Cody, hello. Devil Cleo, hello. Michael Holtz. Good whenever to you as well. Raul Lopez. My dude, you're the reason why I started this hobby and the one who helped me with going through the first minis. You deserve lots of love. Thank you. I feel very loved. Thank you. Commander Cody, I was watching one of your Orc tutorials and was super pleased with how my own ones turned out, so thanks. You're very welcome. It's probably about time I did another Orc tutorial, to be honest. Maybe in the new year. Stephen, hello. Yeah, so we're trying something new today. So I don't know how it's going to go. So this is just kind of me testing out a hobby stream. Obviously, usually I just stream in front of the with the computer. So the camera I'm using here is the camera I use to film painting, so I can film in 4K. But obviously, I'm not going to stream out in 4K. But the colours seem pretty good. Like, the colours seem really accurate. So hopefully you can see that I am streaming out in 1080. Ryan Scale Modder World, hello. Biscuit Eater, really appreciate the Orc Boys and Flash Gits tutorials. Turned out amazing. I'm glad. The Flash Gits tutorial has to be one of my favourite tutorials. Because that one took me a long time to get the courage to do. It was one of the tutorials that I wanted to do when I first started the channel, but I never felt good enough. But I'm glad I did it and it ended up being really, really good. Chris Stacy, evening, hello, welcome to the stream. So as you can see, we're going to do a hobby hangout tonight, where I just sort of paint a miniature. So this isn't for a tutorial or video or anything like this. This is for my Night Goblin army, which I'm just finishing off now. So I've got myself another squig, Mangler Squig, and 3 trolls. So I want to get those painted over Christmas and the New Year, so I can finally self-finish my Night Goblin army. So just join the stream to make sure you let me know how everything is. I don't know if that's in the way. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. The music's okay. So I hope you're all having a good festive time of year, whether you're celebrating it or not. I think I'm actually getting sick again. I've been sick over the past couple of weeks. But I was walking out in the rain last night and I think I might have caught another cold. So the camera here I'm using is just a little Logitech. It is a HD camera. I thought it was going to be a 16:9 ratio, but it's just like a square, which is fine to be fair, but it's not the best camera. So I don't know how you want to do this. I'm probably just going to ramble as I talk and just talk about what I do. So I've got my water and brushes. So I'm just going to be using, I'll just use Citadel brushes. But I don't just use the Citadel brushes just for my tutorials. I use them for my own painting as well. And then obviously, if you haven't seen the Night Goblin tutorial, I mainly use contrast paints with some highlights done with acrylic paints, and these are pretty quick to do, to be fair. And I'll show, and hopefully, I'm probably hopefully going to be streaming for a couple of hours, but you should see how much we can get done. We probably won't get all of this done, but we should get most of it done. Biscuit Eater, been hot down here in Australia, finally cooling down a bit. Just had a cold in the summer, absolutely worst. I couldn't imagine having this time of year in the heat, but personally I love the hot weather over the cold weather, so I wouldn't be complaining, personally. Michael Holtz, greetings, watching on my phone, so your camera's just fine. Hopefully you can see it on your phone as well. So if you want more detail about the colours and stuff I use, I will talk about it, but I do have a video for the Night Goblin army on the channel if you want to go check that out. So this is the one that I painted. So they don't come with these square bases originally, I bought these separately. So I use these for Old World rather than Age of Sigmar. And as you can see, the way they sort of fit on the base. Now in the Old World, the front facing is the shorter width of the base, which is quite annoying. But I built the second Mangler Squig, and if you build it in this way, it kind of fits on the base in the way it should. So if you're going to build one of these and you want two different ones, and you didn't want like the metal bases, if you just use the goblin in the middle with rather than this one, and then you could just sort of stick these ones on here, and you got these sort of normal looking Mangler Squigs, and you could have them sort of facing the right way. But I didn't really know that until I built these. Commander Cody, it's bright early in the morning here in New Zealand. Been warm weather for a while now. And Marco, speaking of Old World, are you planning to do the Empire when they come out? I do want to do an Empire army, but I think I'm going to do, before Empire, I want to do the Warriors of Chaos. So I've got a Warriors of Chaos army that I still need to do. But I kind of wanted to finish off the Night Goblins first. And then I actually want to do a Skaven army. So I think that'd be quite quick to do, just using sort of contrasts. But Empire is probably an army that I am going to do, but that probably won't be until maybe the end of next year or the year after. We're all nice. Gotta love Empire and Chaos. Yeah, the Empire miniatures are really nice, and I'm glad they brought some of the miniatures back, especially like that siege sort of carriage. Really nice miniature. So, well, we'll get started anyway. So I've undercoated the Mangler Squig in White Scar, just because I'm going for the retro scheme back for the 5th edition, and obviously they started with a White Scar undercoat, and then it just works better with the contrast paints. They just look a lot more vibrant. I'm going to be using, now in the video I use the normal sort of Citadel paint brushes. But the one thing I do like to do is make sure I've got a variety of brushes, so I'm not using the same brush for everything, because they'll last longer. And you'll find when you're using contrast paints, when you load the bristles up, they can warp the bristles. So I decided I'm gonna start using the STC brushes for contrast paints. It probably doesn't really need to focus, I suppose. That's just the medium that we're going to be using. Hello Samus, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I thought we'd do some painting on stream for once. You can actually see me painting. I do actually paint the miniatures myself, I don't just pay someone else. When I'm deciding to paint, when I've chosen to paint something with contrast, I tend to work with the lighter colours first. I don't know how I've started in the video. I think I've started with the lighter colours. So the first colour I'd start with on the Night Goblins and these Mangler Squigs is a Skeleton Horde. But I've made a Skeleton Horde mix. So this is thinned with contrast medium. And whenever you're doing an army, for me personally, if I know it's going to be used a lot, I don't want to be mixing it all the time. So I'll do like a pre-mix and separate it, like do a pot for it. It just means it's more consistent as well. So I did the same for the Tyranids I mentioned about doing this, and I did it for the... It's one of the important things for like the Tyranid army was to do the pink wash over the skin and to make sure that's consistent as well. So I did that for that. So that's always a good idea to do something like that rather than having to mix it every time. And with contrast paints, so I'll either use a dry palette or I'll use a wet palette. And for contrast paints, I'll just use a dry palette. And you can just use whatever you want. Here I'm just using an old sheet for one of the palette pads from Games Workshop. So there's lots of choices. It's whatever you've got. Then I've got some kitchen paper ready, and some water. Stephen, I love how much easier old world classic minis are to paint than the new sculpts. Yeah, I'm kind of almost regretting using the new sculpts for the Chaos Warriors. When they're painted, they're gonna look good, but I'm just a bit intimidated to pick them up and start painting because there's so many details. I don't really know where to start. I just need to sort of sit down and make a plan and just write sort of the order I want to do things in. Crag, I have one odd Tyranid because I didn't do that. He's much darker than the rest. Yeah, I mean, when I was doing the tutorials, I was struggling to find the right consistency mix, and I actually ended up doing 2 different winged prime miniatures. I had to buy a new one because I kind of messed up the first one. Make sure I get that. So I'm just drinking from a tabletop ready for drinking mug here. Yeah, we're starting with like a thin down skeleton horde with contrast medium. You're probably looking at, I think, probably like 4 parts, 5 parts contrast medium to skeleton horde. Obviously you don't thin down a contrast paint with water. Stephen, easy to pick up empty paint pots on Amazon. I like the idea of pre-mixing because I hate mixing on the palette. Yeah, as well, and you'll find as well, if you're going to mix it with a contrast medium or lamy medium, a lot of the time you could probably specially buy those and then sort of just mix it into that contrast medium or lamy medium, but you can get empty pots. So I'm not actually very good at painting on the camera. This is why I'm going to do contrast paints. Because when I'm filming, I'll have a setup like this, where it's an overhead camera. And this is literally, so if I'm about to shoot a piece where I'm going to show you how to highlight, it'll be like this. I'll press record and I'll go, stop recording. And then I'll highlight the miniature for a couple of hours. That's how crazy it is. So an extended length of time painting on camera, it's going to be a bit weird, especially because everything's in the way. Hopefully everything stays in focus. You'll have to excuse all the numbers on the bottom because they'll go every time I mess with the camera, they'll show up. Is everyone doing that? Got stuff to paint and build over the Christmas holidays? So for me, obviously, I'm going to try and paint this Mangler Squig, and I've got 3 trolls to finish as well to make a unit of 6. But I should get these done this weekend, to be fair. And I'm also just working on the next video for the channel to hopefully be out next week, which is it's just going to be look at the kill team box. So it's just going to be quite a quick video, because I don't really have, I want to get another video out. I was hoping maybe Christmas Eve, and I haven't really got time to paint, so I just thought I'd do a look at the kill team game. Yeah, but I'm hoping to get these finished over the weekend. The reason I want to start sort of my choice of colour in what order I do them in is I want to make sure the colour I paint after, or the contrast I use after, is going to be able to cover up any mess that I've made with this one, so I don't have to keep going back and forth. So after this, I'm actually going to paint the inside of the mouth, the gums and stuff. But that should be dark enough to cover up any sort of messy areas I've done with the skeleton horde. Elsie, welcome to the stream. It's good to see ya. I've got an absolute mountain of the paint. Hopefully get my Knights and Terminators finished and get onto Lyle. Sorry if I keep coming out. The chat's a bit far away and I'm blind. Stephen, I think the Death Guard are the final thing I'll paint this year, but I'm tempted by a super quick scheme on the original Dark Elder I've got. Yeah, your Death Guard are coming along really well. Biscuit Eater, got my Orc Commandos and Ultramarine Phobos Strike Team. Love Kill Team. Yeah, I'm hoping to get more into Kill Team over the next year. Just because I like the idea of painting like 6 models and being able to use them. Hunter, got my son. Oh, go on my son. Great stuff, mate. Thank you. I thought you said got my son. Right, okay, let's do some painting. So for the teeth. With contrast paint, you kind of just want to try and be methodical. You don't want to use it like a shade. You just kind of want to work at spreading the contrast out. But you still want a good amount. Because you do want that sort of variation in the tones. You don't just want it all to be the same, and obviously you want it to sort of work its way into the recesses as well. You're gonna have to keep going back and forth and getting more contrast out. That's the name of the game. So for my own personal sort of hobbies and stuff, I actually prefer using contrast paints, just because I've kind of created a style for myself that I really enjoy. So if you've seen the recent Pallet Hand and the Imperial Fists, that I've sort of adopted that as my style. Because it's quite quick to do. And it looks really good. Because you can do like simple things like the scuffs and scratches and other what people might think advanced techniques, but it's actually really easy to do. And it looks very sort of vibrant and almost of like a vector sort of cell shaded, if people know what that means. If you've ever played like Zelda Wind Waker, that sort of style, like a cell shaded, where it's sort of blocky and animated. Stephen, do you keep a painting recipe book, notebook for personal projects? Well, it's just handy that I do painting videos, because obviously I write a script for all the tutorials, so I do write everything down, and I do write everything down for my personal stuff as well. Gary King, welcome to the channel. Thank you for subscribing. Miss anyone out? Mario, thank you for subscribing as well. And Egan. Yeah, so I always make sure I write the recipe down, or at least work through how I'm going to paint something, because it just takes away that uncertainty. When you come to paint a miniature, you've got a plan in place, and you're more likely to finish that miniature. And if I haven't done a guide already, I'll go and find someone who has done a guide. I don't want to work something out from the beginning. Double time. Hey Michael, I've been using your videos as a tutorial for my minis, and now I've got 20 done. Oh, well done. 20 miniatures is a lot. I wonder if you batch painted or painted those individually. I mean, if you're going to paint them individually, that's like maybe a miniature a week if you've got the time. That's almost half a year already there. I forget what I'll paint sometimes. I think this time last year, the video I was working on was the Psychophage, and I think I brought that out at Christmas Eve. Double time, some were batch painted and others individual. Have people got plans for the new year in terms of armies they want to start, what they want to achieve in the new year? So for me, I do want to start a new army. I've got some stuff that needs to be painted, but I just want to start from scratch, like a brand new army, instead of just trying to finish something I've already got, which I did a lot of this year. So I painted a lot of orcs of my army. This Night Goblin army, to be fair, was from scratch and brand new, but that was for Old World, which I didn't have anything for. It was the Night Goblins I chose to do. By the way, this is quite slow as I'm talking. You could probably do this like 5 times faster. I mean, you don't have to go. You go at the pace you want to go at. I mean, when you go slow when painting, it's good to think about what you're doing. Instead of just turning off, just think about, like, look at the brush and how the contrast paint or paint's leaving it. Especially when highlighting, that's a good way to learn how the paint works. Again, I'm not being super neat here. Because when you do highlights, the highlights sort of distract you and sort of take your attention away from a lot of the mistakes. And all the teeth. Yeah, so the next video I'm working on is the kill team video. Just to showcase the miniatures I've already painted. I think the actual kill team starter box is amazing, if you haven't got it already. And I noticed as well, you need to search for that starter box now. I think Games Workshop have heard of it going out of stock. But it's still available on the store, or you could probably just go to your local hobbyist store and find it. Commander Cody, I'm starting my Bad Moon Orcs, my first army ever. Bad Moons look good. Have you got a plan to how to paint them? One of the videos I really want to do early next year is a Nine Jaws video. I want to do more AOS in the new year. I'm just trying to keep this on camera. So after this kill team video I'm working on now, I'm going to be doing... What am I doing? I've got Marnius Calgar sort of ready to go. That all the prep work's done for that. I just need to paint him now. I've even recorded all the commentary and stuff. Just literally painting him, which I'm going to do after the kill team. So that should be the first video in January. That'll probably be the second week of January that's out. And then we're doing 3 videos for Age of Sigmar. The first 2 videos for Age of Sigmar I want to do is the one of the starter boxes, so I'll paint the Skaven half and the Stormcast half. And then the third video, I'm going to be doing how I've done the paint your first miniatures for 40k. I'm going to be doing that for Age of Sigmar. And then I don't really know what I'm doing after that. Raw, those wood elves from Age of Sigmar look cool. The tree neth, the silver neth. Because I know you can get, I don't know if you can still get wood elves for the Cities of Sigmar range, but the silver neth look amazing. You could definitely use contrast paints to do a really good job on those. I think Sylvaneth are probably one of the videos I do throughout the year, because you can paint them using contrast paints and get them looking amazing. I'd want to do like an autumn scheme. Get a lot of oranges and greens and reds. Aaron, stay nass up, man. I still use your Black Templar tutorial for my Templar army. I'm glad. There's actually 2 Templar videos on there, an old one and a new one. Don't look at the old one. Walker Corley, getting back into 40k after a 15-year hiatus. Looking to casually build a new Orc army and build upon my old Elder army with some Aspect Warriors. Yeah, the Aspect Warriors, the new Aspect Warriors look amazing. I want to do some tutorials for some of those. Michael Holtz, I need to run, have a conference call. But good luck. We get a chance to come back. I'm not sure how long we're going to be doing. Depends how tired I get, I suppose. Alex, Ryan, Scale Model World, nice painting, mate. Thank you. Alex Cook, hey, which paint guide are better for Leviathan Tyranids? The Termagant video or the Tyranid Warrior one? I noticed you use 2 different sets of colours on both vids. That's a good question, to be fair. If ever there's multiple videos showing you the same thing, I would always look more towards the most recent one, because I would have learned from those older videos and changed it a bit. So the winged warrior was a tough video for me to make, because that was a video I was using to figure out how to paint the Tyranid Leviathan scheme. But what I would actually say is go through tutorial, maybe with like one miniature, maybe like the Gaunt miniature, and you don't have to follow it exactly, and see what you like. Because I've been painting Tyranids outside of those tutorials as well, and again I changed up how I've done them because I've learned. Because you might decide that you want to change how you do it to a preferred method. Because you might think, oh, I don't like the way Michael does it, but I think it could be better this way, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just trying to take away that sort of anxiety and worry, and just get people painting. That's why I emphasize a lot about the techniques and break it down as much as I can. Because once you have all that, the colours don't really matter. Because once you've highlighted one miniature, you've highlighted every miniature. Like a wash is a wash. Let's see. Stephen, do you use a vortex mixer? Love mine. I'm not sure what a vortex mixer is. Is it one of those things where you put the pot on the thing and it sort of vibrates? I've looked at those, but I did have this ready. So you'll hear in the contrast paints like a shaker, so you can get these little balls. I'll just put a little agitator in the pots and give it a good shake. But you're probably gonna, those I've seen those kind of, those vibrating bases, they just cost too much for what they are, to be honest, because you have to pay like 35 quid from what I've seen. Brawl, yeah, the Sylvaneth. Yeah, the Sylvaneth and a really nice range. I like the big beetle character as well. Ryan, what is a vortex mixer? Yeah, well, I'm wondering the same thing. Sumus, have you gotten a wet palette? What one would you want if not? I do have a wet palette. And most of the time, well, for a lot of the time, I just made my own. And if you watch my how to highlight video, you'll see how I make a wet palette. But I've bought one now just to make it life easier, and that's linked in all the descriptions of my videos, including this live stream, to the one I use. And it's just a cheap one. I think it costs like £6-7, and you get a lot of sheets. I'll go grab one in a second and show you after I've just done this. Double time. I have a blueberry boys and nids, so I'm just working on them. Ryan, how to add phone number Discord. I don't really want phone numbers in Discord, just for privacy reasons. But if you're in the £8 tier, or you can get access to the hangout room, which people haven't really used yet, but it just depends on how many people use it. Bish Bash Posh, hello from James, long time no speak. Hello, I remember. Aaron, the new video is the one I use for the Black Templars. Yeah, good. Yeah, I love that. Black Templars is another chapter I've always wanted to learn how to paint properly, especially from seeing it in 3rd edition, because along with it was in the main box with the Dark Eldar. And back then you didn't really have the paint you have now, which make painting Black Templars so much easier. George Wright, I find often when you mess something up, you learn something new in the way you fix it, if that makes sense. Yeah, because you learn more from making mistakes, because you don't want to make that mistake again, so you try and figure it out. And in that process, you learn quicker. Because if you don't make a mistake and get it right, you're just going to repeat that action. You don't teach yourself anything new. Stephen, yeah, the vibrating things, they're wonderful. I use them with the ball bearings. A good one is probably 70 GPB. Don't regret it. I might have a look. You'll have to show us in the Discord, or put a link in the Discord so I can have a look. Bish Bash Posh, could you do a video on how to paint eyes on Space Marines, please? It wouldn't be a very interesting video. I have painted eyes. If you watch, I think it's in the Terminator Captain video, I paint eyes. And the Sisters of Battle video, I paint eyes. It's literally just using Corax White and Abaddon Black. But just expect to clean up. You're not gonna, unless you like an heavy metal painter or someone who's better painting than me at least. Just don't worry about making mistakes. But I'll just use Corax White, and then just instead of a dot, the pupil, just paint a line and make sure it reaches both the upper lid and lower lid, because if it doesn't, the miniature looks weird. It looks like it's either looking up or down. So you want to make sure it goes from top to bottom. Yeah. I know, like a natural eye rather than lenses. Yeah. because most of the time I used to just avoid painting the eyes because it was too scary. It's not too bad, to be fair. Right. So I've got the teeth, claws done. We've got some rope down here. Rope, I think we might just actually use straight up skeleton horde. So I'll do that in a second. Get the teeth for the goblins. You don't got teeth. Again, don't worry about getting this everywhere, because because we've chosen to do this in this order, the colours you should use after this should cover it up. Bish bash posh. I did it for my first time today. My first time. I wish it was better, to be honest. Anytime we do something for the first time, if you got it right the first time, then you're probably the first person to. It probably took me a good 5 or 6 tries. Well, I got comfortable doing it. I was playing a game of Old World over the weekend against a friend, and he had some snotlings, and they did my head in. I had some it was a mission where you had to roll for each unit, and on a 1 they came on in the second turn, so like in reserve. And one of my units, I had a Mangler Squig, some Night Goblin hoppers to come on in reserve, and the rules for skirmishers in Old World are just really janky. They don't really make any sense. So I had to set up these squig hoppers right on the board edge. But I had a snotling base come into the side of them, cause a wound, and of course I can attack back because it killed the one on the end. I failed my leadership and I just ran off the board. Oh no, he chased me down. Like, he rolled an 11 on 2 dice for his snotlings, and I was fuming. Bish bash posh, your videos help me absolutely massively. I watch them a lot. Seriously help me to improve my models. Good. As well, if you're watching my tutorials, you're gonna need to watch them more than once, because you're always gonna miss things. That's all the teeth done. As well, what I would use this mix for is any mushrooms or any stalks on a mushroom. So you've got a piece of like a dwarven statue here. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I could do it like a sandstone, but it's attached to rope. You could do it stone. It's not attached to anything, so I'll think about that when it comes to it. What we'll do next, we'll do the gums next. I haven't got a pre-mix for the gums, so I'm going to mix one up. So I think I'll do a 50-50. Because for the gums, they've got these, again, you want them quite light, you don't want them too dark. I don't know if I've finished all my train of thoughts. Has anyone watched the new secret level, or has everyone been playing Marvel Rivals? A lot of people are playing the Marvel Rivals at the minute. It's not that fun to watch, because I tend to watch a lot of streams while I'm painting. Now, don't do what I do and contaminate your mediums. If you do what I'd normally do, I'd go straight into the medium right now if I wasn't thinking. There's a new update for Space Marine 2 coming out, isn't there? Are they bringing Necrons into it anytime soon? Again, you'll find that a lot of the mixes you do don't have to be perfect. You can sort of work off how the pigment sort of moves around. Because you'll always get to a point where you've put too much in and the pigment breaks up. And you can usually visually see that. And that's when you've gone too far. So a lot of the time, if you want a thin wash, you want to sort of get to that point just before the pigment breaks up too much. George Wright, playing some old school RuneScape at the moment while watching your stream. I never played RuneScape. I used to date a girl who was always on RuneScape. I watched a lot of RuneScape. And it's crazy how much time it takes to do something in that. Been playing the new Indiana Jones game as well. I've seen a bit of that. Right. Gums. So I've picked the tongue with the slobber on here. The only thing I'm gonna have to clean up the slobber later after I've done everything. That's not too bad. See, look. That's not dark. That's not thin enough. Go back in. Might have used lime in medium, to be fair. Sometimes I just like to like that. We'll call it that. Yeah, RuneScapes I never knew existed. Now again, what I'm doing here, I'm not fussed about getting it where I'm going to be painting the red, as long as I avoid getting it on the teeth. So you can sort of work towards where you're okay being messy. So you can see I'm starting at the teeth and then sort of working away from the teeth. You're less likely to make mistakes that way if you're not pushing your brush into any area you don't want to make mistakes. That'll go for, so if you're painting a Space Marine, I'll think about that when doing the belts or like the ribbed areas. I'll try and sort of work out inwards. If that makes sense. Sometimes you can't avoid it. But again, I wouldn't worry too much about it. George, are Citadel brushes your preference, or do you use them for the sake of easy reference for your tutorials? They're kind of both, to be honest. I've used a lot of different brushes. And in my humble opinion, there's a lot of, doesn't really matter what brush you use. A lot of brushes end up the same. I don't buy like a really expensive brush and think, oh my god, I can actually tell the difference. You can't. Because I used to use the Series 7 from Newton and I remember the name now. I've got all their stuff over there. I'll have to. I don't want to get up and have a look at the brand. I used to use like more expensive brushes. Because even if you buy the exact same brush, say when you buy a new brush, you buy the same exact brush, it's not guaranteed to behave in the same way. Windsor and Newton, thank you. But I did just start. Oh, Eric, thank you very much for the super chat. I can't hear anything, but hopefully it's reading out. Thanks for the great videos. I'm following your tutorials to paint my orcs for an upcoming crusade. My bad moons are going to look great. What's your favourite way to play 40k? Narrative or matched play? I do like to play match play, even though I'm not very good at the game. I would like to run narrative games if I had the time to. And if people wanted to do narrative games, you have to be, when doing a narrative game, you have to be committed, especially if it's a campaign or a map. You have to make sure everyone's on board and you regularly play games. But you could do like a one-off mission. That's how you used to kind of do it back in the 3rd edition. You had scenarios rather than match, well, before match play was a thing. But Eric, thank you again for the super chat. It's really appreciated. I'm looking forward to seeing some bad moons. If anyone, so I have done showcases of subscriber miniatures in the past, and I am going to continue to do that, and I'll probably do one every quarter. So the next one I'm looking to do is at the end of January. So if anyone's got miniatures they want to show me and are okay with me showing them on stream, just email me them. So if you're working on your bad moons, I'd like to see some. We can show them to everyone in the community. Then those live streams will stay up on the channel for people to go and look at later. Marcin, what about paint? Citadel or Vallejo? Does it matter? Again, with the brushes, I don't know if I'll finish my thought again. But when I started painting tutorials for the channel, I did exclusively just go to Citadel, just because that's what I wanted to show in the videos, because there's a lot of tutorials that just use so many different products, lots of different paints from different companies like P3, Vallejo, Army Painter. I just thought I'll just stick to Citadel, because when you're starting out in the hobby, you just kind of just want to use the paints that are recommended by the people who make the miniatures. And I've always used Citadel Paints. Vallejo are a very good company though. They do some great paints. I like to build scale models, Airfix mainly. I use Humbrol just because they're the paints recommended for them, but I also use Vallejo. And Vallejo are a great cost-effective brand as well, and they've got such a massive range. When it comes to like varnishes and fillers and anything that Citadel doesn't do, I'll buy Vallejo. Double time, I bought a Winsor & Newton and it immediately frayed on me. Yeah, they're good brushes, but you just have to be a good painter to get the most out of these good brushes. But I would say learn to use an average brush. You'll appreciate it, and you'll actually become a better painter, because you have to, it's kind of a handicap in a way that's forcing you to really work harder. And when you find a brush that's just works exactly the way you want it to, and you think a brush should work, keep it aside and just use it for highlighting or for detail work. And all those brushes that do your head in, that don't work the way you want them to, use them for your base colors and your layering. That's what I do. So here, like, you'll see some are in the, you've got some are covered, some aren't. The ones that are covered are the brushes that I like to use for highlighting. The ones that aren't, I've had for a long time, and I use those to get the base colors down. I'm gonna apologise, I can't say that name. Citadel is a must for starters. Then if you have your capabilities, you can outcast any colour paint set you like. Yeah. Stick to one. Just make sure when you're starting out, just stick to one brand of paint. It doesn't matter what it is, whatever you feel comfortable using. And then when you get comfortable and you're a bit more confident about painting, you can start exploring more, because you know how a paint works, and then you can start comparing and what you like. It's a very good point. I'm going to head off now, but nice talking to you. Take care and wishing you a Merry Christmas next Wednesday. Take care, mate, and everything else. Thank you very much, Bish Bash Posh. I'm going to be live streaming next weekend, the Saturday and Sunday. Not the weekend coming, but the weekend between Christmas and New Year. I'm thinking I might paint some Imperial Fists for a new army. George Wright, do the viewer submissions have to be good? Good is a very subjective thing. I think anything a viewer has painted and is proud of is good. Everything's welcome. There's a lot of talented people out there, but there's a lot of different skill levels out there as well. But you'll see that if you watch some of my past live streams where I've showed off people's miniatures, there's good things to say about everything. And even if you may not consider something to look good, other people do. And there's always something to learn. I love doing them because I always get great ideas and learn something new that I haven't really thought about. So yeah, it's a very subjective thing when you say if something's good or not. Martin, thanks. Dion Souche placed a pre-order on first classic marine packs today. Gonna paint them as salamanders. Yeah, I saw those. I literally looked at them before I jumped on here. You get the 3 Space Marine characters. I wish I used Lamy medium now because the contrast medium's too thick. And you've got the Blood Angel Terminators there as well. What I would love for them to do is bring out the classic Dreadnought. So I don't have to go on eBay and spend over £100 on one if I ever want one. The Terminator one's a Space Marine Heroes Series 2 set. So yeah, that's the Blood Angel one. I like that they're bringing out those collections. So like with the Kill Team one, you've got the Plague Marine set and you've got the Space Marine set. But the Space Marine one is the Primaris one, but originally they did one that was the Firstborn Space Marines, the non-Primaris ones. So hopefully there's a way to get those because I really like that. The captain for that set. Wanted to use it for my Imperial Fists. Again, it shouldn't take this long to do it, just because I'm blabbing. George Wright, I mean, I'm happy with my stuff, but some of the models I've seen on your subreddit are amazing. Yeah, you shouldn't, don't compare yourself to others. I can have that problem as well. What's important is you've enjoyed painting that miniature. It's a very personal journey. And if people have been sending me their stuff, I haven't replied to a lot of emails. I just haven't had chance. I've not been very well, and my time's been taken up quite a bit with a couple of other things. But I have seen them if I don't get around to answering them. I'll keep them for a future live stream to show off though. And when that happens, I'll make sure I'll tell you that's happened. I've definitely contaminated this contrast medium. The problem with painting inside here, you just can't build this in a sub-assembly. Because even with the tongue, so you just have to anchor it and just get frustrated. if any mistakes are made, just go in with a bit of Corax White and just reapply Skeleton Horde. Yeah, I was saying earlier about how my preferred method for painting my own stuff is now just contrast paints. Just because they're an unsung hero. Games Workshop didn't really show them off to their full potential. But there's some channels out there who really are able to show off what contrast paints can do. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the War Hipster channel, and that's the channel that got me sort of excited about contrast paints and showed me what you can actually do with them. Because I used his videos to paint my Rule Boys. George, I will get a pic and send an email in. If anything, I think people enjoy seeing the model as it's not in production anymore. Yeah, I mean, we've had people with Star Wars Legion as well. I will make a choice if it is inappropriate, but most of the time it probably will be. And we've had a lot of classic miniatures as well. I'm a huge fan of like retro classic miniatures, so anything like that will be amazing. Ready to not paint the gums now. So even for me, painting's a frustrating thing. It can get annoying, but you just need to persevere. Because you only need to paint a miniature once, unless you paint two of them. I'm looking forward to the new Death Corps or Death Corps. Don't have to go at me for saying that. I get a lot of comments telling me I say everything wrong in the videos. But that's a range I'm looking forward to. And I wonder if they've still got stuff to show. Because you've still got like tank commanders and stuff like that they need to sort of bring out. Or maybe they've got like upgrade kits for the tanks. I cheated a bit there. I'm using just a bit of water just to thin it down because the contrast medium's too thick. Not going down as smoothly as I want it to. But I would use Lamy Medium next time if I paint another one. I'm also looking forward to the new sort of Gloomspite Git wolves, the goblins on wolf riders and stuff. That might be an army that gets me back into AOS. And the new Ironjaw's Spearhead's amazing as well. That's definitely worth picking up to start and getting you started in doing an Ironjaw's army. Thinking like what else I want to paint for the new year, even just tutorial wise. So I've got some AOS stuff I want to paint. I'm hoping, because there's rumours for Space Wolves next year as well, I'm hoping there's some miniatures for that, and Grey Knights as well. I really want some new Grey Knights. And if they bring out new Grey Knights, I'm definitely going to be doing some tutorials for them. Because that's still today one of my more favourite tutorials that I've done. And an army that I want to do for myself. think we're nearly done with the inside of the mouth finally. Has anyone seen the War of the Rohirrim yet? I'm tempted to go see it maybe on Christmas Eve. If it's still in the cinema. I don't know anyone who's seen it yet. But I'm toying with the idea of doing Lord of the Rings as well, because I like all the new range. Because they're stockier, they're more thicker, like a different scale to what they've done in the past. But the new Rohirrim men on foot, they're just a bit more better, well, not better proportion, but just more aesthetically proportioned, I suppose, because they're based on an animated designs rather than real life. So they've taken liberties doing that. I think they've made the right choice in doing. I'm just rambling again. Yeah, I watched so George says I'm a bit cautious about the new Lord of the Rings stuff since Ring of Power. I watched the first episode of that and I wasn't in. I love, like, Lord of the Rings. I've just been working my way through the audiobooks. I'm just about to finish the Two Towers. I forgot how much I love them. The Hobbit is just officially my favourite book of all time. How it's written. Because this is just the first in a series of movies that they're going to do, based on sort of like the history of Middle Earth. Because Hammerhald is a character mentioned in the books. So I've done the inside of that. That's done. Sometimes I just like to just slap it down. And then we've got the tongue on this guy. Yeah, but the new animated film looks quite good. I know people have got issues with a character not being more prevalent than they should be, but as long as they do a good job, have the writing. What next? So I think we'll do the skin next. It's only taken an hour. I promise you this is quite a quick scheme. So this is the skin mix I've got. So this was used to do all my night goblins. I can't remember the actual mix, but it is in the video. So I'm using a layer small here. Ryan Potter, I've watched the film, very good voice acting, but animation wasn't the best, I must admit. Animation costs a lot of money, so they're probably a lot of bonus cut. But I'm glad you liked it. It's definitely made me want to see it a bit more. Martin, I love Lord of the Rings and Hobbit 2. I'm more fantasy than sci-fi. I love sci-fi. The only fantasy that I really do like is Lord of the Rings. But otherwise, I'm a sci-fi guy. I love all the Philip K. Dick books and Arthur C. Clarke, all of that. And I love the like anthologies of just huge books of sci-fi short stories. I love reading those. Yeah, I think it was Striking Scorpion Green and Mantis Warrior 50-50 mix. I think you're right. That does sound correct. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know. Stephen, getting stray flecks of purple on my armor. Okay. Here's a little tip. Now, I know you've been working on your Death Guard for a while, so the green you've already done on the armor should be dry, super dry. So anything new can be wiped off. So if you're quick enough, I've always got cotton buds, and you can wet them. So if you dip them in like your water, and then just get rid of most of it on some paper towel, you can usually wipe off splatters or mistakes off like armor if you're quick enough, rather than spending the time trying to repaint, clean up those mistakes. I don't mention that in the videos because it's quite a faffy thing to do. Was I a fan of Game of Thrones? Yes, I was, and yes, I didn't like the way it ended. I think for everyone with Game of Thrones, it was a big thing every week on a Monday night to sort of see the new episode, get excited about it. And then the last two series, it was just like, what is going on? So the goblins have got red eyes, but I'll probably go in and just paint the red over the green. I'll probably have to do that off camera because that's going to be quite a delicate thing to do. So this is the green going on. This green was quite a tough thing to get right. In the way they looked in the old 5th edition books. It was quite like a neon, very vibrant green. I was quite fortunate that I managed to find something that's quite close. Yeah, Stephen, good tip. I always panic to clean my brush so I can use it to flood water. Yeah, that's some flooding your the area as well was actually quite a good thing to do. That's especially if you're using contrast. That's quite a good idea for contrast paints, because if you're using something like a shade or contrast paint, if you do the cotton bud method, you can actually spread it around, actually make it worse. So I'd probably use the cotton bud method, like highlighting or splatters like you've had, and then for something where you're doing something with a high volume, you would probably say, like if you layer in and you get a massive splodge somewhere, that flooding technique's probably a better way to go, just to stop it spreading around. I heard no one's really watching the new Star Wars series either, the Skeleton Crew. The Acolyte was atrocious. So Star Wars used to be my top IP. I loved it. I've loved it growing up as a kid, and I still love the New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I've just absolutely given up. Kathleen Kennedy needs to go. I'll never get rid of it though. I don't really watch, honestly, I don't really watch much in the way of TV, or I don't really consume new media. Just because recently it's just been so disappointing. Yeah, Walker, Skeleton Crew, surprisingly good. Yeah, I've heard really good things about it. I think it's got like an 80% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. But I think everyone's just so fed up of, especially after The Acolyte. Because Andor was quite a good series as well. No one really watched that. I enjoyed Andor. After I think everyone completely gave up after The Acolyte. Because that looked quite good when it was just before it was coming out, and I watched like the first episode. Wasn't too bad, but then it just absolutely went downhill. I think Star Wars fatigue and poor direction killed the franchise for me. Yeah. George, it's fine if they make stuff aimed at kids, I get that, but when they make stuff aimed at toddlers, it's rough. So Ryan, scale modelling. I am painting a Mangler Squig. So this is just for my personal army, so I've painted one here. I've just got a second one I want to paint. Honestly, I thought I would have done a bit more than this, but I've just enjoyed chilling and chatting. Yeah. There was 6-year-old Princess Leia outrunning 2 grown men. I didn't like Kenobi at all. Thought the story was absolutely late. Like when you're a kid in school, it's the kind of story you made up. Or what if one of the younglings survived? Kind of. Do you know what, the setup, the first 2 episodes of Kenobi was really good, and I liked the way they did Kenobi, where he couldn't really use his powers. But again, I just think the writings, just at the minute for Star Wars, is just weak, just not engaging, just very thin. But to be fair, I did like the Princess Leia as a character in that show. I think she did a really good job. Like an actor, I really enjoyed the role. Yeah, there's not really much I'm looking forward to in terms of media. My airfix. I'm actually working on 2 airfix kits at the same time. I'm not in a rush to get them finished. They're all just sort of half built at the minute. When I'm just fancy a bit of a break from doing Warhammer stuff, I'll sort of get those out and work on them. But I'm enjoying them. I'm doing an F4 F4F Wildcat. I think this is the 3rd one I built for that. I've got Supermarine Swift I'm doing, which is like a more of a modern jet, 70 meters. Because I'm from a place in the UK where they built a lot of the Gloucester Meteor engines. Obviously, you've got Telford down the road. Do a lot of shows. Do like my aircraft. Been to a couple of air shows as well. I've always built airfix growing up, so it's just something that's nostalgic that I like to do. I used to build a lot of the, not Tamiya, it's Bandai. I like to build the Star Wars Bandai kits, especially like the 12-inch figures. They're all quite good. They're all expensive now though, so I stopped getting them. I know Raval do a lot of the Star Wars kits as well. And I have wanted to give doing the Gundam a go as well. I've sort of got a plan. I did have a plan on how to do one quite easily. So if Warhammer doesn't work out on TableTopReady, I'll just switch it to various random things that I just want. Because I did try and do a second channel, the girl modelling guy, I think I called it. But I just didn't have time, and then this channel sort of took off. So I kind of did that other channel. So I was getting frustrated with this one going nowhere. Picked up since then at least. But that channel's still up, so I think maybe one day I'll give TableTopReady to someone else. Work on that channel. But that's not like anytime soon, obviously. That's like probably 10 years time. Giving up on Warhammer. If I ever do. Really want to get into Necromunda. Need to find people to play it with though. Because every time they show a new Necromunda miniature, I love it. Like recently, they released like 2 miniatures, and it was like they were from Ghost in the Shell, like the robotic geisha. It's like they just keep knocking out of the park with those miniatures. And obviously, I love sci-fi and I love cyberpunk. And I just want to paint all the Necromunda miniatures, even if I never use them, just to have them. Marcin, do you guys think Age of Sigmar is worth to invest in time? A very busy personal life and probably have to decide between 40k or AOS. That's something I think about. You could always try the skirmish Warcry, see how you enjoy it, because then at least you get the experience of painting those kind of miniatures. But even if you like spend time working on one army for a year, you've got one army forever. It's not like you have to do it all the time. Variety is the spice of life. So I don't get a chance to really play AOS, but I love the miniatures and I just want to paint them. Samus, never give up. It's going to pop off again in popularity with the show, hopefully. I mean, the channel's doing really well. It did see a massive increase from Space Marine 2, but it's just like dipped back down again. That was just sort of like a temporary thing. But it's just Games Workshop just need to stop hiding their IP behind like Warhammer Plus, for example. Need to like get the IP out into the stream, and hopefully they've recognised that with Space Marine 2. And I think that's why they've fought a lot for this new Amazon Prime series, because they know what it can do for the hobby, getting new people interested. Because you look at what happened with Fallout and how that got everybody playing the games again. Oh, thank you. This is the one that was in the thumbnail. This is the one I've painted already. This is just the second one. So this is the boss variant for the Age of Sigmar one. So I just built this one, so I've got two different squigs. But it doesn't, because I'm building these for the old world, but it doesn't really, you don't really have a boss on a squig in the old world. What do I think the Prime series will be about? I think it'll be an Inquisitor. Because I think Games Workshop would have done something like now if they can just figure out how to make a Space Marine look good IRL. I don't know if Henry Cavill is going to be in it or if he's just producing it, but he'll probably make a cameo. But yeah, I think it's the biggest thing is just how to make a Space Marine feel like a Space Marine and look like a Space Marine and make it good. So I think they'll probably try and maybe start with more human characters, like maybe like Eisenhorn. I think Eisenhorn thrown around for this series at one point. Going tomorrow to my local Warhammer shop. I hope we'll decide after chat with friendly staff. Yeah, every time I've been into a Games Workshop, a Warhammer store, the staff are all really great. I know there's the meme of they keep bothering you, but it's not that bad. They're just sort of getting to know who you are as a hobbyist. I used to work for Games Workshop a long time ago, so it is expected of them. But it's good that they take the time to get to know you, what you're working on, and they're great to make recommendations and stuff and help you decide. You could even ask to maybe do like an intro game for both. Just sort of see which one you prefer the play style of. But again, I mean, if you play like 40k as your main game, you could do like Warcry, for example, or Underworlds. They can at least paint some of the miniatures. Or you might choose to do Age of Sigmar and maybe do Kill Team for 40k. Or maybe you just do Warcry or 40k for both. Just not have to collect a whole army for anything. Yeah, the new Kill Team starter set's amazing. It's what my next video is going to be on. And I've been looking at how to play like the rules and stuff. I quite like how it works, because you're not comparing stats. So let's say you're shooting Kill Team. The person shooting will roll the amount of attacks that weapon has. So if it's a 3+, obviously you need a 3, 4, 5 or 6. Any 6s is a critical. But the defender will roll 3 dice, so it's always 3 dice. And any successes you sort of match up. Sort of block that damage. It kind of reminds me of games like Hero Quest in the way, or Risk. It's a very similar mechanic. Love SCE. Hi guys, what's up? I'm new. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Glad you made it. Been painting a Mangler Squig. Thought I would have gotten painted a lot more by now, but I've just been talking a lot. I live near a large shopping centre that used to have a Games Workshop store. Felt bad for the guys who worked there. They would get kids come in and mess with them and models all the time. Yeah, that's I was in a Warhammer store the other day and I saw a couple of... It happens, but from, say like from the staff member's point of view, you might be able to turn that around and get one of those kids interested, or secretly those kids, one of the kids have come in with their friends who actually are interested in the Warhammer hobby, but don't want to admit it, might come back then on his own and actually figure it out by himself. So it's always an opportunity, but you can't sort of disregard those. They're just kids at the end of the day. What do I do with your brush on the palette? So whenever I'm using the palette, I'm just sort of working the sort of contrast or the paint into the bristles. I'm just sort of loading it up. Really, it's just sort of a habit. You don't really need to do it, but it's good to sort of work it into all the bristles. And then once you feel like you've got the contrast or paint in the bristles, you've got the right amount, you want to sort of remove it and sort of take it away from the exterior. So you might draw your brush out like that, get rid of excess, or you might, like in my videos, I'll say to sort of dab it on the kitchen paper, and that doesn't get rid of all the paint, it just gets rid of a lot of the excess. So what's coming out of the brush when you put it on the miniature is being drawn from the inside of the brush, and actually gives you more control, and you don't get like blobby lines or anything like that. And the feet there. Let's do this little snotling. Painting's very therapeutic. Doesn't have to be stressful. The Uber hands. Weirdest thing, I'm glad they aren't around. I live near the flagship store in LA, and I always see new excited families. Sucks they're still in image. People are people. Just have to try and sort of stop that judgment. I'm sure we've all been a little shit, been a bit of a bad kid. I was at my local Games Workshop store with my 14-year-old nephew, and he painted his very first mini. Yeah, I love, like, Games Workshop and the Warhammer stores do a great job, because you can literally, you don't need to buy anything, to be honest. You can go in there, you can, especially if you're new, you can go in there, have an introductory lesson. They'll give you a Space Marine or a Stormcast miniature to paint. You can literally get basic rules online for free. And every month you can go into the store and get a free miniature. It's not even a rubbish miniature. I mean, like 1 month you get in a Death Watch Terminator, and if you did it correct, you could probably find different Games Workshop or Warhammer stores and go in there and get like a squad of 5 if you're cheeky enough. You know where to go. I know some people did that. Like you could literally play Warhammer 40k or Age of Sigmar just from buying a Combat Patrol box or Spearhead box. You're done with it for less than £100. When people, it frustrates me when people say it's a really expensive hobby. It is, because there's a lot to buy, but you don't have to buy it all. You need a bit of self-control. Contrast paints are not for beginners, aren't they? Contrast paints, when they first came out, contrast paints were marketed to sort of use to get your miniatures painted quickly, and people saw them as a very beginner-friendly thing. I see them as just another tool in your toolbox. Personally, I think they're great for beginners. I think they're great for people who've been painting over nearly 30 years like I have. It just allows you to create new styles, a different way to paint. They're more fun to, for me, they're more fun to use. I don't have to paint 3 layers to get a solid colour. I'll pull it down. So if I was trying to paint with just normal acrylic paints right now on stream, I'd be having more of a headache every time. Whereas I can be a bit more sort of haphazard with contrast paints, get away with it. But if you're smart using them, then you can get some great results. Look at like my Pallet I tutorial and my Imperial Fist tutorial, which I'm really proud of in what I've achieved with contrast paints. So it's just going out there and seeing what people are doing with them. Thank you for John Crabbin, thank you for all your amazing videos. Question: I've got a lot of contrast paint, but I'm hesitating to start using them after painting traditional for almost 25 years. I feel the same. I was very hesitant, but that's because they were marketed badly. If you've got the contrast paints already, just get a miniature that you're not really too fussed about, and just pretend like you've never painted before, and just pick, say like I'm painting a Space Marine. Like, okay, I'm gonna paint the armor blue, I'm gonna paint the bolter black. Just keep it very basic to start with, just to get used to using the contrast paints. And then I just explored in what other people are doing with the contrast paints. So I mentioned Warhipster, that was the first sort of real channel I saw using contrast paints in a more adult way, getting results that you might get from using more traditional paints. And they just, yeah, they, as Steven said, they flow a lot better onto the model, but it's a different look. Have I got all of the green skin done? I think I have. I'll probably come back later and find I've missed the spot, but that's be expected. I love this mix for green skins. Yeah, I love it as well. Because before I went on to working with so I'm just gonna think. Before I went on to doing the Chaos Warriors, I wanted to do Savage Orcs, but literally, like, just as I was about to start the Savage Orcs, Games Workshop announced that they removed the range. And now I am expecting them to bring them back for the old world eventually, so hopefully I don't have to wait too long, because I want to do some like Spider Riders and Savage Orcs as an army. But if anyone didn't know, there's a store where I've done sort of like print on demand stuff. You can see all the overlay, but you got paint water pot, brushes, drinking. So, because I like personally, if I enjoy a channel, I'm a big hoarder of merch. I just like to have that stuff around. Andre, do you manage to paint large surfaces with contrast paints without brush marks? It's quite tough to do, to not get easy. You're not going to get brush marks because it's really thin. The only time you're going to get brush marks, okay, well, there's 2 reasons you'll see brush marks. One is the obvious one. I say it in my videos, if that layer hasn't dried properly and you keep going back into it, you're disturbing that layer. And basically it's like putting your brush into clay. You're going to leave evidence of the brush moving around in it. And actually, surprisingly enough, the second reason you might see texture, or what you might think of paint lines is because you haven't done enough layers. Especially if you've been thinning your paints. You have to remember the paints are slightly transparent, especially if you're working with layer paints. And if you thin them down, they'll be transparent. So if you haven't put enough layers down, you're just going to see all the layers all the way through. So you want to be doing at least 3 layers. And that's what I found, is that as soon as you build, it's because you haven't done enough layers, you'll tend to see a lot of brush marks. It isn't textured, it's just because the paint's transparent and you're just seeing all the layers underneath. That's why I say it's important to build up to a solid colour so you don't see that. But there's just times where you just can't avoid it. What we're going to do next, let's do something nice and easy. So we're going to work on the squig skin. So we're going to use bowl red. So bowl red's used for a lot. So it'll be used for the skin, the little booties on the night goblins, as well as the weapon handles. Thank you, Ryan. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of army painted products. Oh, I was going to actually show you the wet palette. So this isn't even like a real big brand, it's just a generic sort of brand. I've got 2 of these because I'll use one my own painting and then I'll use one to show in videos. And this is probably A5 size. And you get 2 of the sponges. And you get a massive pack of the paper. I've bought 2 of these and a pack of... I changed this a lot. I know, like, for a wet palette, a lot of people keep it like days, but if I'm painting a lot, I'll change this actually quite regularly. And a pack of this has lasted me a year, and wet palettes like that I bought, they're about £6, and they're linked in the description of the videos because they're just off Amazon. You just like you have to be wary just because it's a name brand. As I say, most of the time I've made my own, but I found it useful enough that I then decided to buy one. But I bought one that I thought is worth spending the money on, but I'm not going to spend £30-40 on a wet palette. Really, that does the same job as something that's £6. George, right, I make my own with Tupperware, kitchen roll and grease-proof paper. Probably not as good. Yeah, that's exactly how I did it for like 3 years before I just kind of got bored of having to make my own, so I just bought one of those. And there is actually quite a difference because the sponge is different and it holds the water better than, say, like kitchen roll does. So if you use the wet palette regularly and it's something you find useful, I do recommend investing in maybe trying and buying one. As I say, like, you don't need to buy an expensive one. And when I say I don't really like army painted products, that's just a personal choice. I've not gotten on any products that I've used from them. I've just found to be quite a bit cheap, to be honest. But the you have to be honest, army painters are just very good at marketing, getting all their products out there, and they've got a lot of people talking about them. But you have to be careful about that. But if people love using them, then don't let me stop you. Everyone's different. You use what you like to use. Am I always using a wet palette? Not always. If I'm highlighting, if I'm using like normal traditional paint, acrylic paints, I'll tend to use a wet palette. But if I'm using like shades, contrast paints, or even metallic paints, I'll tend to use a dry palette. Because if you use metallic paints on a wet palette, it spreads out the paint too much, and the little sort of flecks of metal in them sort of spreads it out too much. You said have making a video on contrast paint. I didn't find it. Can you give the video? I haven't got a specific video for contrast, but the last two videos that I've done, the Pallet Hand and the Imperial Fist videos, they're contrast paint videos. The Night Goblin videos is contrast paint. As well, you're looking at some of the Space Marine videos, so the Blood Angel video, Dark Angel video, and Ultramarine video. Recently I've used contrast paints, and I've even used contrast paints to do like a metallic scheme. So my last Ultramarine video that I did 3 schemes. So I did one using sort of like a Duncan sort of method, where it's simple highlights. So that's using acrylic paints like you would normally. This is a contrast paint Ultramarine. You can see the difference is slightly different colour, but it's a different style. I actually do like contrast paints because I prefer the style and the vibrancy of it. But I've also done like a metallic scheme using contrast paint for Ultramarines. So there's lots of different styles. You don't always have to stick with what you see other people doing. It's good to sort of experiment. Yeah, so the Imperial Fists was contrast paints. Because it's just easier to paint Imperial Fists with contrast paint, especially with the Imperial Fist contrast paint itself. So I do like to do just the normal sort of traditional way of painting on the channel, but I will sort of include contrast painting as well, especially because that's now my passion in how to paint miniatures, is with contrast. Your paint on the marine armor is top. I'm not quite sure what you mean. Cheeseburger the second, welcome back. I've got £8 for minis this week. Should I finish my Stormcasts with a Spearhead, finish my Nurgle with a Glotkin, or expand my Chaos Dwarf army? Whatever in the moment you feel like you want to paint. I always say, whatever you want to paint the most is always the right choice. If you're asking about, I can't remember. If you're asking about these, I can't remember the actual contrasts I've used, but I'll just go recommend watching the video. It's quite, it's quite a recent video. If you, yeah, so if you have a look closely. So this is the contrast marine. Days. There we go. So this is the one I did with contrast paint. The armor looks good with contrast paint. It's because I've done 2 layers to build up the colour. Whereas if you just did one, it's going to look more patchy. So whenever you're using contrast paints, if it does look patchy or it doesn't look right, just do another layer, even if it's even of the same colour. So like for the Mangler Squig, that's Bowl Red and then Blood Angel Red over the top of it. Whereas the weapons, they're 2 layers of Bowl Red. So yeah, you don't have to just stick to one layer, just build that colour up. Yeah, so I've done 2 layers. I do a lot of with contrast, I'll do 2 layers of it just to make sure it's the strong colour. So even for like the metallic ultramarine that I did, that's 2 layers. If you think about it, with the traditional acrylic paints, you build up in layers. So why not with contrast paint? And I actually learned that from War Hipster. So I do recommend, if you want to learn these contrast paints, it's got so many videos on how to paint things with contrast paints. You're going to learn a lot. But also obviously watch my videos. So yeah, next is, so these are the new, these are sort of like single pigment contrast paints. So the contrast paints work because I've got different sizes of pigments in them. So when you apply them, you're going to get some that flow more into recesses, some that stay on the surface better. So that's how it gives you the different sort of the contrasts. That's why it's called contrast, because it's meant to give you the shading and highlighting at the same time. But the newer contrast paints of the recent while are like single pigments. They're more like true inks, but they're very thick. I can't remember if I did Blood Angels Red first. I don't think it matters. Get this up. Some of the guys, if you like all my content and you want me to continue making tutorials, please consider joining the Patreon or becoming a channel member. With those, you get to join the Discord, and there's been a few people from the Discord in the chat tonight, which I've really appreciated. I keep people up to date with what I'm working on, and you'll see work in progress of the miniatures when I get a chance, sort of as I do them. And I'll also just basically keep people up to date with my plans for the channel. And with the Discord, I try and be in the Discord as much as I can. I do want to try and make sure it's got more people in there. But you can always just sort of chat to me about your own hobby and stuff. That's what the Discord is meant for, was just to get people together and hobbying. But obviously it also just helps me be able to sort of pay for the miniatures and paints and stuff and earn a living from this, doing this, because I do want to keep doing this full time, because I enjoy it so much and I don't really want to do anything else. But all the links for that stuff's in the description, and you can join the Patreon for £2. Or if you want something back for your money, you can go on to the store. There's t-shirts, you can get yourself mugs, stuff like that. I've been very picky with what I put on the store, because it is only a print on demand stuff, because I haven't really got the infrastructure to make true merch, true dedicated merch. But what I've put on the store, it's stuff I would have myself if I were watching someone else, and obviously I've got it. So you've got like a paint water here, just like fun stuff, just to sort of include in your painting lifestyle. But yeah, it all helps. You can even donate as well. If you're talking about like brush sizes to use when painting. It's really personal choice. If you don't mind taking your time and spending a while painting something, using the small brush is fine. But if you want to get stuff painted quicker, you might want to use a bigger brush. If you sometimes a bigger brush might help if you're like with a bigger surface area and you want to spread the paint out a bit more evenly. So for example, if you're doing base colors using like normal paints, if you're doing like a big miniature like this, a flat brush is actually really good to use. So I mean, I don't use this for painting, but you can get like flat brushes. Rui, thank you very much for joining the channel and subscribing. And Samuel and Connor, thank you very much. If I didn't say thank you for subscribing. Because these spread out paint more evenly than like a tipped brush like this. So again, it's just picking up little things like that, and that only comes from experience and painting, because I can tell you to do that, but that might not be the way you work. Whereas a flat brush might not be very good for using contrast paints, because you do want a concentration of contrast paint to help it flow better. So you don't want to spread it out too thinly, just so it works the way it's intended. A good example of where I talk about that is in the Imperial Fist tutorial that I did a couple of years ago. And even the Bad Moon Mega Armor, I talk about using a flat brush first to get your first couple of layers down, then move to sort of like a more traditional tipped brush to get into all the finer details, just because it spreads, because the yellow paint has really rough pigment in it. It separates really easily, and that's why it's really transparent. It doesn't go down very well. It can be really clumpy. It's just a really weak pigment in the way it's made, because it's not a very strong pigment, so they have to use a lot. Because you'll find in any medium, yellow is a difficult colour, and orange. Are you very welcome, Andre? Appreciate you watching. Yeah, another way you can support the channel is by liking the videos and leaving comments on the actual video. Because what that does is, when you leave a comment or you like the video, you're interacting with the content. And YouTube likes that, because people like that content enough to interact with it, so the algorithm picks it up more and it will send out what's called impressions. And what an impression is basically when YouTube puts your thumbnail in front of someone in their home page or recommended. That's called an impression. So obviously the more impressions YouTube sends out, because people are interacting with that video, more likely to get people's attention and people click on that video. And that's why a lot of videos go viral and get picked up. Because the way the algorithm works, if you're interested, is that it does little test groups, so it will choose a certain amount of people who it thinks will like the video to start with. And if they react in the right way, then it will gradually sort of increase to more people. But if the algorithm sends your video out and it hits a brick wall where it stops getting viewed, or people don't really interact with it very well, that's when the video dies. That's why people are always saying like and subscribe. That's the way it works. Rude, hey, just want to say, got into mini painting a couple of months ago and your videos have been a great help. Thank you a lot. Thank you very much. It's crazy to think that my videos help so many people, and I get a lot of comments saying how they've come into the hobby brand new. It's when my idea for the tutorials, I didn't really intend them to be actually specifically for beginner friendly. I just wanted to be able to show people how they can achieve a box standard looking miniature in a relatively easy, well, not easy way, but more achievable way, to say how Heavy Metal would do it. Because Heavy Metal, say, would spend 3 days on like a basic Space Marine, but I just wanted to show people the technique that they use. So for example, there's not many tutorials out there that I've seen talk about like the chunky highlights, edge highlights, fine highlights, spot highlight. They don't really talk about how Games Workshop actually work and their methods, the Heavy Metal way of painting. Whereas I've always wanted to paint like that, so I've taught myself to paint like that. Stephen, contrast got me excited to paint again, and then I was super deflated when they didn't have as good results as the box art. Yeah, again, it's because they were just shown in the wrong way. But yeah, you're not going to get box art standard with contrast paints, but you can achieve great looking miniatures in a different way with contrast paints, as I'm trying to show people. And I still love that traditional method. It just takes so long to paint. And because I spend all day, every day painting for the channel, it's just difficult to do that for my own stuff as well. So I like being able to do both. So I've got all the Ultramarines I've been painting for the channel. So if any time I want to paint something nice for myself, I can do that for the Ultramarines, and they can be sort of like a really nice display army. Whereas I'll be working on Imperial Fist army, and they'll be painted more like the Imperial Fist I've just done recently in the tutorial I've done, which is a lot quicker. But they've got a style to them that looks great. But they obviously look different to when you compare them to, say, like an Imperial Fist that you painted to be box art. Ryan, I myself painted Bolt Action Mini and Warhammer. Yeah, I know a lot of people who painted the Bolt. I really like the Bolt Action miniatures. They're obviously a lot smaller scale. Some of those people who do the Bolt Action take real care, especially to get like historically accurate miniatures, because they are based on real world. I like all miniatures, seeing them. I wish I had the time and money to do everything. I would have loved to have done the Star Wars Legion. But that, you couldn't really get that over here in the UK. Well, you could when it first started, but then it just got tougher and tougher to get hold of. But the miniatures for that, I loved. And I know they recently brought out another sort of Star Wars miniature game. But then which one do you do? I think the Star Wars Legions is more accurate to say like the films, rather than a stylized version of them. I don't even know what I'm talking about now. Yeah, there's a miniature game for a lot of stuff. What other miniature game would I want to do? I know, like, the War Machine used to be quite big. I don't know if people still play that. I know they've recently brought a new edition of that out. That was one I always wanted to try but never really got around to. Because in a way, if you play Warhammer, it can close you off to the other Warhammer, the other miniature games, just because you're so spoilt with Warhammer, with how much there is with it. Ballistic, I've heard there is a Fallout miniature game. Yeah. I think the Fallout miniature game's more akin to a board game. I know FromSoft, you've got a lot of board games, so like around Bloodborne and other, I can't remember all the FromSoft games. I haven't really played any, but they've all got a board game. But I think that's what Fallout is more akin to, rather than a true tabletop miniature game. It's more of a small sort of skirmish game. But that's expensive because of the IP. Expensive game. So I went to the UK Games Expo. They had it there. I don't know if anyone remembers an old game Games Workshop used to make called Inquisitor. It was kind of a role-play game, but used with large-scale miniatures. I've always hoped they'd bring something back like that. I think it was too different to what they were doing already. So you'd have like a Space Marine that was like 7 inches tall. Ballistic, I don't get why World of Warcraft doesn't have one. They have amazing armor. Because the people are too busy playing the World of Warcraft game, I would imagine. And how do you translate World of Warcraft into a tabletop game? I'm just saying I don't know, because I'm going to be honest, I've never played World of Warcraft. I knew people who played World of Warcraft and it destroyed their life. So I stayed clear of it. Kind of like RuneScape, I guess. More time. I hope they bring more time back. With how especially with how popular Old World has been. Because if you think about it, all the main games that Games Workshop have done so far have a skirmish branch. So 40k, you've got Kill Team, Age of Sigmar, you've got Warcry and Underworlds. Horus Heresy, you've got Legions Imperialis, the epic version, the epic game. And not to mention you've got Necromunda, and more times basically just the fancy version of Necromunda. There's such a big player base still for more time. It would be silly not to bring it back. I think that's what we might see at the end of next year. More time. Yeah, the Inquisitor miniatures were huge metal miniatures that were ridiculously difficult to build. The Eisenhorn miniature was amazing. Anna Maria, welcome to the channel. Thank you for subscribing. Double time that, and it must be hard to get to the WoW license. Yeah, I'm not sure is there much WoW stuff outside the actual game? Again, I don't really interact with World of Warcraft that much. But I've known people who've played it, and I know how addictive it is for people. Could easily just make it a dungeon crawler type, maybe like Space Hulk. Yeah, got a lot of merch. I'm quite oblivious to that stuff. Again, because I'm so involved with Warhammer, I rarely get time to sort of get out and enjoy other stuff. Because to be honest, when I'm not working on Warhammer stuff, I do try and get out of the house as much as I can. Ballistic, one of the main guys in charge of WoW, or used to be, was really into board games, so they definitely could something going. Yeah. Maybe they just saw like what was already out in the market, and they just thought, do they really want to compete when they've already got the market for the multiplayer online? Robert E, hello. I'm not sure. We've been going 2 hours and 15 minutes. Probably do about another 15 minutes, then we'll probably end. Vladimir, hello. Hello, gentlemen. So if you're coming in now, I do apologise. So it'll probably be about another 15 minutes. But it's been a fun stream. I've really enjoyed it, actually. It's been a different experience to the other ones I've been doing. Definitely been fun just chatting. I've definitely felt less pressure. Because before, I was always trying to make sure there was enough entertaining stuff for you guys to keep you interested, but if I'm painting, at least I can talk about this, and it's what I know. I guess it's a chance for you guys to sort of get extra sort of tuition outside the tutorials, so I can probably talk about more in-depth methods or stuff that I'm not able to cover in videos. So hopefully this is just another form of content that people enjoy on top of the painting tutorials, and it's just as valuable. Because I do enjoy these kind of, just having something like this in the background, just letting someone sort of ramble on like I've been doing. Like having someone in the room with you, I guess. It can just be like, get a bit boring just sitting on your own all day in the room. I know that. That's why I like to have streams on, rather than, say, watching like a TV series. Because if you've got a stream on, that person's live, I feel like you're actually getting a bit of human interaction, even though you're just a viewer. Ballistic, a new independent store just opened yesterday near me, but I doubt it will last. Really hope it does, but as a small store. Well, the only way to make sure it survives is going and support it, I guess. Hello Ryan, welcome back. I've just been saying I'll probably go about another 10-15 minutes. Yeah, so the plan for the live streams in the future, I'm definitely going to try and do these more often. I'd like to do once a week. I'm going to try and build up to that. It's just trying to find the time. Well, not the time, but figuring out the best time of day. It's difficult to do it during the day, because that's like the time to sort of work on the tutorials and like life stuff. And I can't really go too late in the day either, just because my brain stops working. Just because I'm neurodivergent. Just gets to a point where I just can't function. Yeah. Put you guys through seeing me not being able to talk. Because you've probably seen on the other live streams when I've just sort of given up functioning. Oh, well done, Stephen. I've almost finished the cloth on my death guard through the stream. Good. That's what I like about this stream. Be a good idea as well. It's just to get people painting along and just chilling, chatting, chilling and chatting. I haven't really even thought about what I'm doing. I don't even know if the squig's been on the camera all this time. But I know I've got it started. Yeah, so the next live stream after this, we're looking at the weekend between Christmas and New Year. My hope is, at the minute, I want to paint an Imperial Fist. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know, because obviously this is an Age of Sigmar miniature. I don't know how interested people were in coming to see me paint this. So I do want to try painting in a 40k miniature, seeing if that gets a bigger group of people. I still think it's still valuable, no matter what I'm painting. Ballistic, I've got the Death Guard versus Space Marine kill team. Going to paint them Imperial Fist. Good. So yeah, that's just the box I've been working on. Such a good box. I hope they translate the style of that box into Warcry, because Warcry, you can't, there's no good way of getting into it. The starter set they've got for it is just not good. I do want to get into Warcry, but it's almost like Games Workshop don't want you to get into Warcry. Because they don't really do the big boxes anymore with all the training like they have been with Kill Team. So I'm just hoping that's on the horizon when they see how well the new Kill Team box is sold. Because it keeps selling out. A squig's a squig, you're absolutely right. Sometimes I'll watch some of these streams back that I've done, just to be like, was I really entertaining and engaging? Because I haven't even paid attention to what I've been saying all night. Hopefully they haven't announced any kind of reveals, have they, for the new year? Because they usually do, like in the new year, what they've done in the past, they'll usually do like a New Year show. Either the day after New Year's Day, somewhere around that time. They'll do some reveals. Because that's what they did for the Old World last year, I think. And they revealed a lot of the Old World stuff. So I wonder what they'll reveal January. Maybe that's when they'll show off the Slanesh stuff. People are going to go crazy for the Emperor's Children because everyone's just been so eager for them to bring them out for years. So I'm getting to a difficult bit now where I'm just going to smush the contrast in and hope for the best. Just know that I'm going to... Because the little booty's going to have ball red anyway. It's just doing your best and getting your brush in there. Not worrying about being too messy. Because you definitely don't want to leave any of the undercoat showing. Because that is going to be more noticeable than... few mistakes that you can tidy up after. And these the cloth's going to be black anyway. I'm definitely going to have to tidy up the skin. Just finding the right angle on a miniature and getting your brush in. Probably got some friends watching this. Also, the high elf, there's high elf. They're doing high elves. They haven't actually properly released the Empire yet. I do like the high elf miniatures are really nice. I'm just sort of focusing while I sort it out. Raymond, thinking about trying contrast paints. How do you handle touch-ups with contrast paints? You paint out the lines, clean up with white base coat. So when I'm painting contrast paints, I'll tend to start with the lighter colours first. So for this, I started with the bone, then I went to the gums and the tongue, and then like the flesh. Because you'll find that as you get darker, it'll tend to cover up the lighter colours as you go along. But even as with normal painting, as with using acrylic paints, I would expect to clean up. And yeah, you can, like if you do a white undercoat, for example, you could use a Corax white. You could use Corax white, sort of go in there, tidy things up, and reapply the contrast paint. And then obviously they do Wraithbone and Gracia pots as well. So not too bad. It's just an extra step that you have to repaint the base colour, then reapply the contrast paint. Rather than just going straight in with just a general base colour. But you get used to it. And as you do more, you get used to working with the contrast, and you tend to make less mistakes. We even really like where I've had to sort of force my way in, I've not actually made too much of a mess. So it's just trying to minimise. So for example here, I knew that say like the straps are going to be sideboard brown, that's going to be a dark colour, the cloth's going to be black. So you kind of work towards where it's going to be okay to be messy, do your best avoiding where you've already painted. And that goes with any kind of painting. If you find a difficult area, just try and work towards where you know it's going to be okay to make a mistake because you haven't painted that area yet, rather than working towards somewhere you have painted already. But it's okay to have to go and neaten things up. It's oh, this guy's broken off. That was a snotling. We'll figure that out later. Might just not put it on. Always gonna break. Yeah, it's 2.5 hours. I don't know. I'm just enjoying painting this at the minute. We'll just see how long I can last. Because I've not been under pressure as I normally would. It's been quite chill, so I've got a bit more energy behind me. I did toy with the idea of doing a whole day stream. I don't think I could do it all day though. But it's been a good sort of test out for a hobby stream. Gone quite well. Camera's been quite good. It's only been me that's not had the camera off screen. Don't know how I'm going to deal with highlighting. Because when I'm highlighting, it's going to be like that. I don't know, I suppose you'll be able to see that. I'll just have to move the camera. So it might be actually achievable for you to see me actually do some highlighting. Raymond, thanks. Looking forward to trying contrast paints. Yeah, I think everybody should give contrast paints a go. I love them. So glad they're a thing. I'm gonna finish this fur and then I think call it a day. But again, thank you everybody for watching and sticking around. It's been a lot of fun having a chat. Again, if you do like the content and you appreciate what I do, please consider joining the Patreon or becoming a channel member, which really helps support the channel and the content I make. Not even joking. I use the money to buy paints and miniatures, the licenses to use the software, and it just lets me do this full time for now. With the generosity. Join Patreon for as little as £2 a month. I'm considering lowering. At the minute, the price for the channel membership is the same for £5, but I've not been able to change it, so I'm gonna have to create a brand new tier. Considering doing that in the new year, and it'll just be £4. It'll be the same as the mid-range Patreon. So as a patron on Patreon, you can do £2, £4, £8. And each give you a little bit extra each time you sort of increase, or if people just want to donate a bit more. But it also gives you access to the Discord. And Stephen's very active in the Discord as well, and he's painting some Death Guard at the minute. You can show off what you're working on, you finish miniatures, you can ask questions, and I'll try and be as active in there as possible. So it's just a more accessible way to get a hold of me. And I'm trying to get it more active. Stephen, have you ever considered funding specific tutorials from the community? I have. Like, I always listen to suggestions. But usually what one person wants isn't what everybody wants. Which is sad. Fortunate. Because I'd love to do the obscure chapter that someone wants me to do a tutorial on, but I'm probably going to get about 10 people watch it. So that's why with tutorials, you'd sort of have to, unfortunately have to stick to the main popular content. And that's why I try and not do Space Marine, because I get a bit bored of painting Space Marine. But they're just what people want. Andre, thanks for the videos. Wish you all the best. Thank you. I wish everybody all the best as well. So this is what we've achieved in 2 hours. I'm going to be honest. You can achieve more than that in 2 hours. To start, I've been very slow. 'Cause I've been talking and just chilling and enjoying it. Which is nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to finish this, and I'll finish Trolls over the weekend. I'll take pictures and put them on the community post just to show people how they've ended up looking. I'd say the next stream's going to be the weekend in between Christmas and New Year. I want to try and start, might try and start maybe about 5 o'clock, an hour early than I usually would, or maybe even 4 o'clock, depending on how I feel, so we get maybe a 4-hour stream. Just to be honest, oh, thank you so much for this super chat. Thanks for the Black Legion tutorials, great help, my man. Thank you. The Black Legion tutorial is actually a really popular one. Oh yeah, I love the new Black Legion colour scheme compared to how they used to be painted, and it was always a goal to do a tutorial for those, so I'm really glad it helped. I worry about that tutorial being a very difficult tutorial to follow along with, because you've got the black armour and the gold trim. So I tried to come up with a very simplified version to get those done as easily as possible. So yeah, but thank you very much, I really appreciate it. George, thanks for the stream and answering all the questions. I love sharing my knowledge and painting with you guys, and that's why I want more people on board to come to these streams, because I'm here to answer your questions and help you with your hobby. So as always, I'll put up like a community post and let people know when the live streams are happening. I'll probably do it like the day before rather than on the day, because I had to work on sort of figuring out how the setup was going to work today. But it's been really comfortable. I was worried that everything was going to be in the way, because I've got the camera up here, I've got the mic in the way, I've got lights here and here. That's what I was worried about, but it's been alright, to be fair. I felt quite comfortable. So yeah, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, everybody. I've really enjoyed this hobby hangout. It's definitely a lot different to the other kind of streams I've been doing. But they're not stopping, by the way. I'm just going to be doing both. You'll probably see more of these because they're just easy to sort of get started. Yeah, Underground, I'm sorry, because I've been on 2.5 hours now. And my voice is going and my brain is shutting down now. But hopefully, you can go back and watch the whole stream again. I'll leave it up. You can click on the live tab. Yeah, for me, it's coming up to 9 o'clock now. It's about 8:30 in the evening. I'm just kind of tired now. But the next stream's going to be the weekend between Christmas and New Year, and I'll probably start that about 5 o'clock and hopefully go till about 9 o'clock again. So you get about 4 hours, and hopefully do that for both the Saturday and Sunday. What time is it here? It's only half 8. It's only half 8 here. So you'll be an hour ahead. So it'll probably be half 9 for you guys. Or maybe 2 hours. Yeah, so hopefully I'll announce it when I'm doing the live stream, so hopefully you can sort of join us a bit earlier next time. But I'll be doing both the Saturday and Sunday if you can't make one of the days. Yeah, but thank you again, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you all, and thank you for the super chats and everybody who subscribed during the live stream. I am English. I'm in the UK. You got me questioning what time it is now. Yeah, it's 8:37 here. Greenwich Mean Time. Yeah, well, I'm gonna head off. Thank you again, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Lucrative, thank you very much for the super chat. It's really appreciated. Thank you again. I am going to go now. Just thought I'd come back and thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, so you'll be ahead of the UK. So yeah, anytime you go east in the world, they're behind. Anytime you go, no, when you go west, you're behind. You go east, you're ahead. I think. I'm tired. Thank you again. Bye bye.